Testing, testing. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Right, folks, it is the third place game between Calumet and Amber Pocasset. We continue to have a speaker problem. We're trying to work on getting a different microphone in, just unable to get either options to work. We can get music to play outside, but not any of the mic. So we're going to work on a couple of things here, see if we might be able to get around that. In between innings, I'll head to the car and get some of my adapters, see what we've got. And two down after back-to-back outs at shortstop for the Panthers. Calumet will be the home team on the scoreboard. I'd like to thank our sponsors for today's live stream, video highlights, and game coverage. All Nations Bank, Chickasha, Sod and Grass Farms, and Turner Welding. Swing and a miss evens up the pitch count now, 2-2. Fouls it off, stay alive. Leadoff walk for the Chieftains. Assistant head coach Cody Wilson heading out to the mound. We will try another thing here to help with the sound. I don't think you're having a problem with our broadcast. If anybody cannot hear me, please let me know. The main thing is on the PA system. Fires back to first to keep him in high and tight. There will be a little brief pause when I head out of the booth. Until then, we'll keep you updated through the first as we head to the top of the second. I'm just going to run real quick to see if we can get some adapters to possibly get the feedback up and have PA here at the ballpark. Calumet lost a heartbreaker yesterday in their game against Okarche. Went in 14 innings and loses on a single to right field with the bases loaded. Multiple pitchers used, obviously, in a 14 inning game. Calumet had a bunch of opportunities, so in some rounds of thought process, that may have been your championship game, but nonetheless, this is the third place game between Amber Pocasset and Calumet. And coming up at approximately 5 p.m., it'll be Ripley versus Okarche for the 2024 AMPO Okarche Festival Baseball Championship game. Base runner is going to go. Throw's going to be a little late. Otherwise, would have had a real opportunity to get him. Fouls it off. Full count will resume 3-2. To the pitcher. 1-3 gets him. We'll head at the top of the second. Top of the second underway. Gail Jones now batting for the Amber Pocasset Panthers. Okay. Did it go away? I'm trying to do everything. I just plugged it into my iPad Pro, but then it makes that god awful now. And I thought I heard something in it. I'm going to try one more way. Yep. Testing 1 2 1 2 1 2. Can y'all hear anything? 1 2 1 2 1 2. Still a no go, huh? Yep.
I know you can hear me right here. I come back over the speaker. 1475 XY was it.
And pop-up fly to right field in foul territory. Your score through 2 innings, Calumet 0, Amber Pocasset 0. You're watching Prep Nation TV coverage of the third place consolation game here at Amber Pocasset High School.
Well, it's been a nondescript set of innings for Calumet. Offensive juggernaut and firepower not on display in the last 2 games that they have had, struggling to score runs. And right now, this is anybody's game heading into the top of the 3rd inning. And gets him on the ground out 5-3. Shocker of a game yesterday. Definitely, I think a few people were surprised that Ripley perhaps beat a higher ranked Bing team. However, there's very little difference in 2A and A. They've played together for so many years that really there's no distinct advantage being in 2A this year other than perhaps not having to play Silo. And Okarche as Rattan would be a co-favorite as well if they were all grouped together. The only difference is this year Okarche and Silo moved up to 2A along with Bing and others, and Rattan, Ride City, and some others duking it out in Class A. Correction on the way I worded that. Okarche, Rattan, and Ride City duking it out in A. Dale, Silo, Bing, Oktaha, Calera, some of the other teams trying to set records and make an all-time victory for the first time ever, a fall 2A state championship. One zero pitch count, one runner on for the Panthers here. Opportunity for them perhaps to take the lead. Rare instance to where Ampo is the guest, not Ampo, the home team. Apologize for the kind of derelict duty I've provided. I've been trying to figure out any way possible to help them. Really, all we can do is just play music at this point, but been trying to see if there was any possible way, excuse me, to get the PA system working for the remaining 2 games of the tournament. Flies out center field, chases it down. To the pitcher. 1-3 ground out. And no going once again. We remain scoreless heading to the bottom of the third inning. It'll be the Calumet Chieftains coming up to bat. You're watching Prep Nation TV coverage of the 2024 AMPO Okarche Baseball Festival. Fouls it off. And gets him with the strikeout. Over the wall it goes. Solo blast for Calumet. Are you not entertained? Courtesy of Mr. Thiessen. Nicely done, Caleb. Breaks open a tight ball game. And back-to-back Thiessen's at-bat. This one flies out to center field, though. We'll head to the top of the fourth inning. Your score is now Calumet 1, Amber Pocasset 0. You're watching Prep Nation TV coverage of the 2024 Ampo Okarche third place consolation game. Nick's batting for Amber Pocasset, the senior left fielder, third baseman, and pitcher. Does just about a little bit of everything. Absolutely a large part the reason why Amber Pocasset won their first ever state title in boys athletics. What a great season it was for the Panthers. Pops it up and another out. Well, just a nondescript kind of slow plodding game. If you like web chips, the only difference in the game thus far has been a massive blast by Caleb Thiessen over the wall for the home run, and Calumet jumps out to the early 1-0 lead. Some people like those types of games. They like them tight. And gets a much needed walk. Pop up fly. This one may go to the pitcher. Nope, first baseman snags it. I'm going to have to probably go a little bit wider angle so you can see some of those plays. I've tried not to get all the different grinds with the way, or the grid lines, I should say, the way the light hits the poles. You not only have two poles separating, but you got a drag cord for speakers, and then you got power poles in the background, and then you got the light casting the metal bars onto the field so it can look almost like some kind of a mathematical formula over here. Maybe we will go a little bit wider angle so you can see the base path on first and third. I'd like to thank All Nations Bank in Calumet, Chickasha Sod and Grass Farms in Chickasha, and Turner Welding in Amber, Oklahoma. Our coverage sponsor for this year's tournament, making it possible for you to be able to watch all the games here at Amber Pocasset High School. I do wish we could have theoretically been at the game yesterday between Okarche and Calumet, the 14-inning marathon game. You missed it earlier today, being victorious 7-0 over Binger. And that pretty much will catch you up on the games. One Pocasset over to the first baseman. He's going to snag that one. And Ampo's hitting woes continue in back-to-back games, losing yesterday 1-0 in a 7-inning game against Ripley. Calumet loser 2-1 and 14. So both teams kind of struggling their last couple of games. Those of you that are interested in the OU game, they lead Tulane 7-0. Sooners had a pass touchdown called back by Jackson Arnold, and reviews showed that the receiver trapped it out of bounds. And then Sooners roll out, read option play, Arnold into the end zone. Otherwise, been a pretty tight game with him in Tulane. Sooners defense is definitely legit. It's just going to come down to how well they'll be able to perform in the SEC against Tennessee, Alabama, especially. I think the Ole Miss, those are the three games in Texas, obviously, that'll make or break the season for the Sooners this year. I think they may very well surprise some people, whether or not they finish the year with only one or two losses. That really, to me, remains to be the difference between an awesome inaugural season in the SEC versus very disappointing year once again for OU. Love me some Sooners, but I never dreamed in a million years that the 2001 national championship would be the last one for the men. What a trajectory turn the softball and football teams went. Football had their seventh national championship by 2001. Patty Gasso had just won her first national championship in 24 years, 23 years of playtime, now juxtaposed in between. 7 additional national titles for the softball team, 0 for OU. So now softball gets bragging rights with the 8-7 lead. Just a reminder, Oklahoma only considers consensus national titles, unlike Notre Dame and Texas and especially Alabama. They do not claim shared titles or claimed titles where there are multiple champions, or in one instance, UP or AP would have named somebody else, and then they just said, no, we're the champions too. It's going to be a make or break game here. You're going to have to really make your opportunities and break the other team and get those chances and maximize opportunities. Just don't know if either team has got the juice. Was curious to see how Calumet would play today after a marathon game yesterday. They, in fact, played a doubleheader against Okarchi, and losing those 14 inning games can be very demoralizing, exhausting, and obviously it can impact pitching rotations as well. So you may not necessarily even have your number one or your number two available for the third place game. Three games on tap today on PNTV. And then we will flex coverage on Monday. If Ripley does not win today versus Okarchi, we may potentially do a doubleheader game tomorrow, or not tomorrow. Thank you, Jesus. On Monday at Ripley, they'll host Moss and Barnum. I'm fairly positive Tuesday we'll be picking up the Lexington-Lindsay softball game. And then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday we'll be hosting, I believe, at Rattan, their annual classic. Last big fall tournament of the year before playoffs begin. Outside corner, ball that'll walk the player. So the Chieftains will have a runner on. It's my pleasure this week to recognize Kingston Arnold as our most outstanding player of the 4th annual Best of the Best Baseball Festival at OU. Next week, we will be returning the favor and traveling to Rattan, just on the other side of Antlers, to recognize the most valuable player, Cooper Johnson, recently transferred from Antlers High School to Rattan. An absolute stud specimen of a player. He can pitch, he can field, he can hit for cycle. Just a really impressive young man. I'm very, very high on him. If anybody were to ask me who the sleeper player is in the state, I'd say Cooper Johnson from Rattan, Rainer Bean from Wright City. Some up-and-comers to keep your eyes on now that Eli Willits is classing out a year early. In effect, he is going to graduate as a junior instead of a senior, so he can join his brother Jackson at OU and his dad. I think Brody Arrington from being a freshman has showed his mettle in the tournament, starting now. Just safe. Very close. And having said that, there's Obviously, some really good players at Dale. Rooker, I've seen him for a couple of years now. Silo's got a couple of really good players, Zane Sander, Gabe Hernandez, and in my opinion, Sam Mendenhall, another one I would put in the same kind of category. Coach Rod from Oklahoma with some real studs, Darren Ledford, Mason Pickering, and others. So it'll be interesting to see. This year is our first year to offer a Player of the Year for fall baseball. Feel like it's the right time to do it with Class 2A, A, and B now being offerings. We'll do our best to get sponsors for all three classes. So we have class winners and the overall winner for Pitcher and Player of the Year. In effect, it'll be our MVP and MOP awards. We're trying an inaugural year for 8-man football. So far, I've reached out to about 70, not quite 70, probably 60, 65 8-man schools, and I've only had 3 coaches respond. I've had several say they would, but never did. But so we've had a slow go there. We'll continue to try it for the first time, and if it just doesn't go, then I'll skip it. Otherwise, we'll have our Mr. Oklahoma and Miss Oklahoma awards for overall players this year, in addition to the football, baseball, basketball, and wrestlers of the year for boys and girls categories. So far, we do not recognize slow pitch, but we may come around to that. So all the softball awards are for the fast pitch season. Wanting to add track and field and volleyball as soon as we can. Feel like it gives the young ladies and boys equal footing and opportunity with an even number of sports. Obviously, football goes to the boys, and it's just going to be that way for the foreseeable future. Basketball and wrestling have now offered equal footing, and then baseball, softball with the trade-off. So I feel like if we can do track and field, continue to maintain the balance of boys and girls awards winners, and then add volleyball, that would give the girls sport to offset boys football. So that's just my thought process on it. We will be announcing the fall quarterfinals for baseball this week. I'm still finalizing some information on softball to complete our watch list. We got a good amount of Class B candidates this week to round out and try to do a top 20 ranking. We'll do that for 6A all the way down to B for softball. And then we'll be announcing our quarterfinalists for the Pitcher and Player of the Year, and some finalists and finalists. So if anybody listening wants us to cover your games, next 3 weeks I'll be pretty much wide open. I'm given the opportunity for softball. If you want us to cover your events, help us get sponsors, we will do it. Back at the plate, Chieftains have got a little thing to work with now here in the bottom of the 4th inning. 2 runners on, best opportunity yet. Obviously, the solo home run took care of business, speaks for itself. And this would really give Calumet an opportunity to get the offense back flexing, get some distance between them and Ampo. It's a nice, beautiful day here. I don't think it hit 90. I think it's still about 87. It was 85 when I rolled in. I think it may be a little bit warmer, but just a beautiful day in Amber, Oklahoma. If you haven't seen Amber Pocasset's new baseball, high school, gymnasium, and softball complex, it's absolutely gorgeous. The fields remain the same, but the tie-ins around them, huge change. And those of you that are familiar with the elementary school program, kind of a unique setup, but that is still housed over in Pocasset, Oklahoma. And yes, there is a Pocasset, Oklahoma. And then the high school and most of your junior highs now are over here in Amber, Oklahoma. So kind of a parallel track of where the schools are. It seems to work for them. Assuming probably long-term goal would be to try to get them all on the same facility and stretch. But again, if you have not seen the hitting barn, state-of-the-art, beautiful. They've got a now workout room on the back side of the building, and then an ag building as well for all the teams to pretty much trade opportunities. In safe RBI single 2-0 lead for Calumet. So a huge building over there for bay barns for equipment and Botech and ag activities. And then they've got another one on the back side of the hitting cage where they store all their maintenance equipment, tractors and such for field maintenance. But just an absolutely beautiful facility. So happy for them. Took them a couple of years to get it done, but it couldn't happen to nicer people. All right, runners remain first and second. Good enough single to where he was able to go all the way from second home. Just couldn't quite get from first to third. So a 2-0 lead now for Calumet. They've got aspirations of winning it all this fall. They've been back-to-back runner-ups in basketball and baseball. And they are wanting to slay their arch nemesis, the Fort Cobb Broxton Mustangs, getting a measure of revenge this season in a matchup earlier in the year, close game, but Calumet victorious. Chieftains, all their losses have come against higher class foes. They have played a really tough schedule. So if they have 3 or 4 losses, somebody might say, well, they may not be that good, but you have to look at the teams they've played. With the quality of competition in 2A and A above them, they could easily have 7 or 8 losses if some of those games didn't quite go their way. And I applaud Coach Cody Thiessen for scheduling tough and strong. To me, it looks good on paper to have a 35-0 roster, but if you are the type of team that loses in the quarterfinals and finishes 34-1, it's really not worth it. I think I'd rather have a 30-5 state champion than a 34-1 state quarterfinalist or runner-up even. Happened to the basketball team a couple of seasons as well. They lost their undefeated record in the championship game. Well, if you didn't watch the Wilson Henrietta Calumet boys game, boy, it was a barn burner. Henrietta literally just played possessed and almost flawlessly perfect. That's the big walk away from me, that and the Weatherford and Douglas basketball game. It was just epic. All right, we get the ground out there, so no runs come across in addition to the 2, so we have a 2-0 lead through 4 innings. Well, to the top of the 5th with the Panthers coming up to bat. You're watching Prep Nation TV coverage. Ampo Okarche Festival 3rd place game on PNTV. Sooners' new field goal kicker has just absolutely been astounding. Just hit a massive field goal. However, Sooners called for delay of game. So I don't know if they're going to still go through with trying to kick the extra field goal or just punt it now and try to do a pooch kick. So takes off the points, would have been Sooners 10, Tulane 0. Delay of game. Well, tied affair here. We've had a couple of them now in a row. Ripley Amber Pocasset 1-0 last night. Okarche 2-1 over this very same Calumet squad. So both of our punch-in games to the championship game won by 1 run. So it just kind of goes to show the level of depth and quality of the 4 teams competing for 3rd and 1st. I would absolutely be shocked if most of the teams in this pairing do not qualify for state and are not in the state championship game, or at least a quarterfinal game. I absolutely think you will see Calumet in the playoffs. You will see Bing in the state playoffs. I think Amber Pocasset will make it to at least the state quarterfinals. It's been a tough season for them. I think Ripley's got a real shot as a 7-8 seed as well. Just going to have to upset some people if they don't get a bump in the latest OSSAA rankings. They should, though, with a victory over Bing and Amber Pocasset, and then an opportunity to beat Okarche. That would be 3 really, really high-quality wins in the same week. Ripley and Sterling are kind of interchangeably locked there. A little bit difference in the win-loss records, better for Sterling, but Ripley, in my opinion, has played the harder schedule and slightly better team. Going to be just kind of one of those years for Union City and Bingeroni, just to play as far and as long as you can. Okarche's another team that I firmly believe state semifinalist is totally a possibility, possibly a finalist. It'll kind of come down to how they pair Riot City, Rattan, and Okarche, in my opinion, on who will knock out whom when. Kind of really comes down to who gets seeded 4 versus 2 and 3. If you're the 2-3 matchup, you know you're going to have to play each other in the semifinals anyway. But if you fall to the 4, then you're going to have to play right now Riot City. Just off the mark, so walks the base runner. Ori back on again for Ampo. Posey now up to bat for the Panthers. Just a really, really slow back end, bookend set of games for Ampo. They've really struggled in 11 innings so far, 0 runs. And that's just a bad, bad recipe for what you're cooking. I'd like to thank our sponsors for today's live stream and coverage: All Nations Bank in Calumet, Chickasha Sod and Grass Farms, and Turner Welding. Thank you each and all. Wild pitch gets away. Boy, just ricochets right off the back and he rolls down to the third baseman. Fouled it off there. 0-2 pitch count will resume. 1 out, 1 base runner on for Ampo. Hooks it foul, unable to get the ball working again. 0-2 count resumes. We've got an error on the scoreboard. It's got 2 balls and 3 strikes. So just overlook that if you can see it in the corner. If you can't, then not a problem. All right, so now we've got 3 balls and 3 strikes. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that is not accurate. It is a full count, 3-2. Ripley Warriors here at the ballpark. Have yet to see any Okarche players. Puts it in play over to the second baseman. We're going to get a fielder's choice 4-6. Going to be late on the throw in safe. So a non-single. Base runner taken off the path. Back down to the top of the lineup with Briar Anglin coming up to bat. would have probably jumped that one and tried to steal second. You need a real momentum shift. And the walk ends up being a moot point. Panthers now have two base runners on, first time in the game that they've pulled it off since the first inning, and definitely needing to get something going here. You do not want to make this a 12 inning dearth of runs being scored. Scoreless last night in a 7 inning game, 1-0 losers against Ripley. Calumet, on the flip side, finally breaks the vexing hold that was on them. They only got one run on the board, but man, they had so many opportunities to score runs in the fifth, the sixth, the seventh. It sounded like a Johnny Cash song. The eighth, the ninth, the 10th, the 11th, the 12th, the 13th. Even in the 14th inning, they had runners on. Just losing a really high skill level game against Okarche 2-1 in 14 innings. So I figure somebody today is going to bust out of a rut. The other team may find themselves stuck in one. Fouls it off. 1-1 pitch will now go 1-2. Just a reminder, triple header coverage today. Our final game will be at approximately 5 p.m. and it'll feature the Ripley Warriors versus the Okarche Warriors in a battle of just upstart Class A, top 8 at ranked teams in our set. Fights it off 1-2. Swing and a miss, tags him. Well, Panthers strand 2. We'll head to the bottom of the fifth now. It'll be Calumet batting with a 2-run lead. You're watching Prep Nation TV coverage, third place game here at the Yampo Okarche Festival. Sooners finally crossing back into 2-lane territory. They're a little above the 50-yard line now. Arnold threads a needle, and beautiful catch by the tight end, and all the way down now about the 33-yard line. I like those big old boys. Offensive line paying much more attention to not caving in on top of Jackson Arnold. Don't know if you watched last week's game against Houston, but you usually develop like a horseshoe defense around the quarterback, and they were almost going into a tunnel like a V, to where they were putting so much shrunken space on Arnold he couldn't really run out and get out unless he just backed out and then took off running. It was a very, very odd game. First down for Jackson Arnold on the quarterback keeper, however, there is a flag. So very, very underwhelming performance last week against Houston in a more than 16-12 win for OU. May have a targeting call against Tulane, looks like. One thing is for crystal clear certain, OU's defense much, much better. How they'll perform against Tennessee, that'll be the first test of the season. And then we'll get to see them against Texas in the Red River rivalry sport. Personal foul is called against Tulane. That's going to be a huge, huge difference because it's going to turn it from a routine first down at the 22-yard line to pretty much half the distance there on in, and move it closer to about the 10. Just Not smart to try to target a quarterback that's already down on the ground sliding. All right, hits it upside. Out to the center fielder, flies out, one down. Wicked rip out to right field, single. So Caleb Thiessen with his second hit of the game, solo home run. Actually misspoke on the player. Kyler Thiessen will be coming up to bat. Pitching change for Ampo. Brendan Voss just took a really hard loss last night. Pitched well enough to win the game for sure. It's a fun year for Coach Cody Thiessen. Have all three of his boys playing 1 year together. They've played before, but not on the varsity team. Connor now working his way into the starting lineup as well. So not every day that you can say that you got three sons that are all starters on the baseball team. Caleb, Kyler, and Connor Thiessen. Connor, the freshman. Caleb's a junior. To be Kyler's senior year. They'll lose some real depth at that level. Carson Cooper and trying to remember. They've got one other senior on the team. Maybe it is just Carson by himself. No, Brett Reed. That's the other senior with Kyler. Yeah, so it's three seniors this year. They lost six last year, so there's not going to be much drop off for the Chieftains, but it will hurt losing that experience. Misses the throw, safe. In back-to-back innings now, Calumet has had a base runner at second. This will be actually the third time now. 5-3 on the ground out. Base runner has to remain in at second. So a moral victory, if you want to call it that, for Amber Pocasset. They prevent them from being able to advance the base runner. It got away quickly. Oklahoma scores a touchdown to take a 14-0 lead over Tulane. Voss looking to do some damage here. Chieftains get the walk. Runners now first and second. So close for the Sooners, they really collapsed in on the quarterback, but Tulane fires it off and probably one split second away from a potential sack, and instead a 25, 30-yard completion for Tulane, their best play of the game so far. First time in the game Tulane has been in Oklahoma territory, and they just complete another pass for a first down. Get the strikeout. All right, that'll do it through 5. We'll head to the top of the 6th. Panthers coming up to bat. You're watching Prep Nation TV. Easy ground out and another out, and opportunity squandered for Ampo. Going to have to really get cracking here. We're on the verge of going 13 innings without a run being scored. Doesn't really take a lot of astute analysis on that. You can pretty much take it for the issue and problem that it is. Don't have to be the dead horse there. Two on the pitch count. They keep just kind of chopping away at it like you're trying to fell a tree, but just not getting the straight barrel and pivot to drive the ball into opportune lanes and move it onto the outfield. It's been a really perplexing 2 games for the Panthers. So much to play for, so many opportunities to obviously repeat as the state champion, but they're just really not clicking right now. Makes good connection with it, just fouls it off once again. So 2-2. And unable to do so. We will head to the bottom of the 6th. It is still all Calumet. 2-0. Chieftains coming up, bottom of the 6th. Red Reed up to bat for the Chieftains now. Almost hit him on the breaking ball. Chieftains with another base runner on. They are just winning these at-bat battles slowly but surely, one by one, and has just given them a seemingly insurmountable edge. Lead is far from being in the bank, but Ampo's body language not good here. Carson Cooper up to bat. They've just not been very aggressive on the base paths and been unable to get to third base yet. And gets it. Tags back up after the flyout to right field. And nice catch by the second baseman. Woo, wild throw. Had an outside chance realistically for a double play there, but throw way, way, way off base. So borderline error. They're going to call impeded base path, so he is going to be able to advance to second as well, which kind of negates the entire point of getting the fly out. And Bo just really not catching a break here in the game. I'd say it's a bad call. He clearly was running right up kind of on the first baseman while he was trying to get the ball squared up and caught. And a bang bang play, correct call made. OU now with a 21-0 lead over Tulane, 3:30 to go in the second quarter. Sooners get a much-needed defensive stop, then holding Tulane in large part to third down conversions, just kind of repetitiously. So Sooner defense looking really, really good. We'll know more next weekend, though. And swing and a miss. Your score through 6, Calumet 2, Amber Pocasset 0. Led at the top of the 7th inning, Panthers will need at least 2 runs, otherwise they'll be looking at back-to-back shutout losses. And that is ball game, folks. Final score, Calumet 2, Amber Pocasset 0. One final game on tap, Okarche versus Ripley. We'll get highlights up and running here shortly. One more game coming up on PNTV. Final score, Calumet 2, Ampo 0.